everyone, Jarrod here, and I'm going to talk about, well, these games right here. But first things first, you might notice I'm in a different sort of layout here, and that's because I really wanted to do this video quickly, so I don't have video footage running or anything like that, but I really wanted to get this out, like ASAP, so I'm basically sitting on the floor, got my sofa behind me. You'll notice I put some fun stuff here, I got some stuff over here, and I have a couple of games just in front of me here. I don't have absolutely everything here because I wanted to do it quick. So, big news right away. Dragon Quest XI's hitting North American shores and I believe Europe at the same time on September 4th, 2011. Glorious. Now, very interesting. It's going to hit the PlayStation 4, so this version's coming. And it's also going to be available on Steam, and it's going to have a plethora of different features or upgrades compared to this one. And the reason why I showcase this game right here is because, well, it's going to be very, very, very similar to this one in terms of the upgrades. So some of the things that they're doing include voiceovers. This version did not have any voiceovers. They're also doing an overhaul to the what's called user interface, and there's a couple other things, like they're increasing the mount speed. They're also going to be not speeding up, but also like having like a difficult mode. But the difficult mode sounds very similar to the Japanese mode of not being able to access stores and stuff like that. So I want to find out a little bit of information first. They've also changed a lot of different character names. So Camus is now called Eric. Greg is called Hendrik. What else? Delcadar region and everything associated with it is now called Cornelia, I think it is. And there's a couple other things. We don't know all the changes as of this time, but we do know that there's a lot of changes coming up. So that's pretty much it for this, but I really wanted to talk about the future of the series and basically my hopes and dreams of what they do to make this series popular here. You'll notice I'm surrounded by just a couple odds and ends that I just quickly got together. I mean, sorry for the backdrop's kind of a mess here, but you'll notice you have things like the Yoshi that's behind me holding the DualShock controller. There's a little slime. You'll notice this bad boy right here. This is the dual set that was released for Dragon Quest XI. Why am I showcasing these things? Oh, and this 3D, actually 2DS. I'm showcasing these things because in Japan, this series is ridiculously popular, okay? It's crazy how popular this is. In North America, it is not. And I'm always a little bit scared when Square Enix really markets and really ramps up production of another Dragon Quest game for North America, because I'm always scared that they're going to have unrealistic expectations and basically expect the game to sell 40 million units. And because of the success of Monster Hunter World, I'm even more nervous now than I have been in the past. And that's because I'm really expecting them to basically think that the only way that this is going to be successful if it sells like 4 million units or something like that. And I think that's completely unrealistic. So there's a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about in this video about how I believe they could make this game basically the catalyst for the future of the series in North America and Europe. So if you just wanted news or like my thoughts on Dragon Quest XI getting released in North America, well, it's basically super exciting, very, very happy, but it's very bittersweet. So I'm going to jump all over the place, but first things first, let's go into that announcement a little bit, and then we'll talk about the future of the series. You'll notice that this bad boy right here is not coming to North America. They actually confirmed that. It will not be coming to North America. They also confirmed that the Switch version will come to North America and Europe. By the way, in the video, if I say North America, I'm obviously including Europe in that discussion, okay? So what does this mean? Well, it's kind of sad because this particular version is actually, in my opinion, the best version of Dragon Quest XI. And the reason why, if you haven't watched my review, go ahead and watch my review, because now it's sort of like it might be one of the only reviews ever in English on Dragon Quest XI, and that's kind of sad for the 3DS version. So yeah, go ahead and check out the review. But essentially, why I say it's like the best version is because the bonus features on this one were not the same as the bonus features on this one. On this one, you got like this basically there's like targets that are out in the environment. You have to like shoot them down. It was okay, but it was nothing fancy. Basically, the bonus feature here was that it looked stunning. The graphics were just like wow. But here, you actually got to revisit, I don't want to say key areas, but specific areas of all 10 past Dragon Quest games. And I thought that was just so damn cool. The process to unlock them would have been a little bit tricky in North America. They may have had to have tweaked the drop rates for the Ochi. The Ochi are those guys right there, those white guys. Basically, it used sort of like a street pass sort of feature where as you'd walk by other people, you could get little avatars and stuff like that. And then with those guys, you'd go into this sort of side-scrolling, almost like a dungeon. And as you'd go through, you could find little scrolls. And those scrolls, once you've collected enough of them, would unlock the area in a previous Dragon Quest game. And what was so cool is you could go all the way back to Dragon Quest 1, and there'd be like a character that'd say like, oh, I need like some sort of item, and you have to keep playing that minigame until you unlock, say, Dragon Quest 9, and then you go to Dragon Quest 9, they'd have the tree there, and you'd find an NPC, talk to that NPC, and they say, oh, you got to go into another world, which happened to be, say, Dragon Quest 8, and you just keep going back and forth and unlocking more and more and more quests, and even new areas within those old games, and I thought that was just absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. And the fact that this is not coming here, and Square Enix quoted here, is saying that it's because of business reasons, like it's just there wasn't really a market here for this particular version. I called complete hogwash BS on that. And the reason why is if you go back and you look at all of the Dragon Quest games that have been released in North America, at this I can't really talk about Europe, but I know in North America, Nintendo themselves have published the games. And I look at that as basically a lack of faith that Square Enix has in this series in North America. And again, Europe. Okay? And it shows. I mean, it totally shows. Nintendo is not going to publish this game in North America when this version exists. Like, they're not going to do that. They're going to be like, what's in it for us, guys? Nothing, you know? And it just shows, to me anyway, that Square Enix really isn't thinking of the long-term potential of the series. So I don't want this to sound like a rant video. I'm actually much more open to just giving ideas of what I believe Square Enix could do to really take this to the next level. So number one, it sucks that they're not going to bring this version over. I think that is a real big oversight on their part, because Nintendo just had a direct and they just announced like Luigi's Mansion's coming and other games. This would have been a fantastic game to have released later this year. But again, it shows that Square Enix really doesn't have much faith in this series in North America, or at least they're maybe unrealistic expectations. So that's pretty much all the news that we got. So like I say, it's a little bit bittersweet. Very happy that we're getting Dragon Quest XI. The name changes always crack me up. You'll notice the Dragon Quest VIII figures behind me. Basically, you know him as Angelo, but in the Japanese version, I think it was Kukul. It says it behind me, but I don't want to turn around. That was like one of the main character differences, but already in 11 we have two characters that have been completely renamed, and I'm kind of wondering if they're going to do the same with Sylvia, Martina, Senya, Veronica, and Ro. I'm kind of wondering if they're going to do the exact same thing and change up some of their names. Super stoked about the voice acting. I think that's brilliant. User interfaces, I'm not really like... I've been playing Dragon Quest in Japanese forever. So like the minimalistic approach, I'm kind of used to. So it doesn't really, you know, it's not the type of thing where I'm like, wow. But all of this is really important because of the game in the center. So this guy right here, I don't have my Japanese copy with me, but this guy right here is the last time Square Enix made a real effort of bringing this series over to North America and Europe and really pushing it. The fact that they coupled, I think it says on it, yeah, it includes a demo of Final Fantasy, what is it, 12? Yeah, Final Fantasy 12. They did that on purpose. They knew that people would buy this game just to get their hands on that demo. And it worked. Like, it really did work. This was, at the time, the highest selling Dragon Quest game ever released outside of Japan. It did really well. It didn't do millions sold, but it did well. And now we're going to jump into where I think the series has basically run into an identity crisis in North America. So here we go. Follow me around the room as I try and do this. I didn't have time to grab all the different games, but I wanted to just talk about all this. They revamped a lot in this game. They added voice acting. They added an improved user interface, orchestrated music, and so on and so forth. We're still not entirely sure about the soundtrack. Apparently, from what I've read, okay, what is it? The music that was playing in the cinematic trailer is orchestrated, but not the rest. So I'm not sure what's up with that yet. At the time I'm recording this, the announcement is just broke, so I'm not sure, I'm not sure what's what. Well, it just broke. It's been a few hours. I just got home from work and just ran here for you guys. So, with this, they put a lot of effort into it. They paired it up with Final Fantasy XII, and they were disappointed. That's the honest truth. They were legit disappointed with the sales of this game worldwide. And this is where I'm left to scratch my head, because I am so nervous that they're going to do the exact same thing with this bad boy right here. That they're going to put all this effort, all this money, and then it's going to sell like 1.2 million copies worldwide, well, outside Japan, worldwide. And they're going to be like, I don't think it's worth it. No, you know what? I don't think it's worth it, guys. Screw this. We're not gonna release these anymore. And I'm so nervous that is a realistic not expectation, but it's a realistic future that we could potentially be looking at. And this is what gets me very, very nervous, because you see, look at this guy. We got 9. 9 actually outsold this. However, 9 wasn't marketed like crazy in North America. This one, they put a lot of effort into marketing it and really pushing that, like this was the launch of a series. However, there's been 7 of them in the past. With 9, the DS was literally on fire. But all the other remakes of 4, 5, and 6 did not set the world on fire. They didn't do great in North America. Neither did the Dragon Quest Monsters games. People like to basically over-embellish things and oh yes, it did very, very well. I have a love of this series that very few people, at least in North America, have. So I'm not trying to say that this series, has no chance of North America. Au contraire, I honestly think this series could do very well in North America. I just think the way they've gone about it hasn't helped the series. So, all those games that were released on the DS, virtually all of them, with the exception of 9 itself, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have them right here with me, they have all been published by Nintendo. And again, I look at it like, that's not really showing faith in your particular series. You want to really push this. So there's a couple ideas that I've had, and a lot of you are probably going to think I'm nuts, but let's go back to Dragon Warrior, the original. And goodness, I wish I had my game here. It would be awesome to just put that there, but that's in storage. So the original Dragon Warrior, a lot of people love to talk about how it was included in Nintendo Power. And they talk about, the memories associated. Some people liked it, some people hated it, whatever. But what people don't sort of remember, or maybe even know, is that the reason why it was included in Nintendo Power is because it bombed. They made so many copies. Nintendo had published that as well, interestingly enough, and it just tanked. So they had all these copies lying around, and they figured, well, why don't we add that as a subscription incentive? Essentially, they were trying to get rid of it and hoping that, okay, well, maybe it'll entice people moving forward, but it never did. Dragon Warrior 2, 3, and 4 were all released by Enix, and they just did horrible sales-wise. Again, horrible. Based on what? Based on internal expectations. So moving forward, when Enix USA left during the development of Dragon Warrior 5 on the Super Nintendo, it was Super Nintendo, that, I think, was a critical moment. Well, I've talked about this many times in past Dragon Quest vlogs, that I think that was the beginning of the end for the series as a whole, all the way up till today, is that by leaving at that moment, Square was still planting those seeds. You had your Secret of Evermores, you had your Mystic Quests, you had your Final Fantasy 4s and 5s, 4 and 6, you had your Secret of Mana, you had your Chrono Trigger, you had these games that were coming out, and when Enix left, they left at the worst time, because this right now, I know for a lot of you guys watching, a lot of you aren't going to care about this. And that's okay. I mean, that's fine. It's your loss. But you are going to care about these two games right here. And it's funny because why are you excited for these, or let's say this version, as opposed to this? Why? What is it? Is it the visuals? Is it those fancy, beautiful graphics, stuff like that? If that's you, there's nothing wrong with that. But why I'm saying this is so important is because during the Super NES days, Dragon Quest VI and the remake of Dragon Quest III were this. They were some of the nicest looking games ever released on the SNES. They really, really were. Go check out videos of ROMs or translation patches or anything like that. Just go check out some of the graphics of those games and tell me that they're not impressive. Just the intro to Dragon Quest III's remake is bloody phenomenal. And it was the equivalent of this, when this game came out, it was a gorgeous game on the PlayStation 2. This game, you look at all the trailers that were released today, I mean, it's gorgeous. It's just a beautiful looking game. But when Enix left during that crucial time period, they basically gave up that seed. Now, I'm not saying that had they released, had they been around, had they released their games during that time period, would Dragon Warrior 7 have been a phenomenal success? The answer is no. No, it would not have. And the reason why is because Final Fantasy 7 was the perfect game for that particular time. I mean, it was like the universe basically aligned for the success of Final Fantasy VII. Those seeds that Square Enix were slowly planting during the Super Famicom or Super Nintendo days paid off dividends when Sony comes out and they're like, oh, we have this new device, it's going to use CDs, it's really aimed at like the teenager / young 20-year-olds. And what's so funny is, I assure you, Final Fantasy VII still would have been a huge success, even if a lot of those earlier RPGs weren't there. However, it made it easier. It made it just that much easier for people to be like, well, I've heard of RPGs before. I heard of Final Fantasy, sure, that was there in the NES days, that was there during the SNES days, but the marketing and the push and the cinematics and everything, it literally, no one can argue this, it established RPGs as well, traditional RPGs or JRPGs, in North America and in Europe. There's no way anyone can argue with that. Like, if you lived through that time period, that's it. It was clearly the game. And so, even if Dragon Warrior came out like I said, even if we got Dragon Warrior 1, 2, 3, 4, we got 5, 6, the remakes for 1, 2, and 3, I assure you, Dragon Warrior 7 would not have done gangbuster numbers. It would have done better than it did, but it no way in hell would it have done like phenomenally well. And the reason why is very simple. The development of Dragon Warrior or Dragon Quest VII was one of the worst developed Dragon Quest games in history. It actually started off as a SNES game or a Super Famicom game, and then was ported over to the PlayStation much like way late into its development cycle. And well, it shows in a lot of ways. If you go back and you play the original Dragon Warrior 7, which is available in North America, I'm not sure about Europe, it looks awful compared to the games that were like its contemporaries. Now, I was a huge fan when it came out, but I think the problem is, you know, nobody knew what this was. Dragon Warrior 1 to 4 bomb, man. People knew what Dragon Warrior was because of Nintendo Power. Who actually played and enjoyed that? There's going to be a few people like me who are going to raise our hands, but the vast majority of people, so even friends of mine were like, what is this crap? And they never played it. They were like, oh, wicked, you know, like I got a free game. They put the game in and they're like, ugh, what is this? Square Enix, well, not Square Enix, sorry, Enix USA, you know, takes off. And then all of a sudden they come back during the PS1 era. They released Valkyrie Profile, which was a brilliant game. They released Dragon Warrior 7 and a handful of other releases. And these games tank. Because people are like, who the hell is Enix? Like, nobody even knows who this company is. And now you've got this Dragon Warrior game that people are like, what the hell is this? That takes us here. It takes us to Dragon Quest VIII. When Square and Enix merged, they really put like a lot of effort into this bad boy right here. And I was so stoked. People were so stoked. But to the masses, to the general public, this game here became Dragon Quest I. Essentially, it became the launch of their series. So, okay, you just built this up. Now, Nintendo, you know, being smart, they're a company, they were like, okay, well, we've got this. This is already out there, right? So the public know about Dragon Quest now. Let's flood the market with all of these DS games that were coming out. The DS is on fire. So any games that we can get our hands on, we're going to, you know, pump those out to make the monies. And what ends up happening is it works for the most part. The thing is, statistically, and I don't have access to this obviously, but I'm willing to bet that if you look at the people who purchased this game, how many of those people who bought this game bought Dragon Quest IX? I'd be very surprised if it was more than 20%. And the reason why is because they're two different markets. And this is now going to get into an area where I believe that this series has always struggled with. And that is to say that Dragon Quest is established in Japan, right? I mean, it's like literally like their highest selling series. And so they can put that series on any platform at all. If they wanted to make one today for like the PlayStation 3, for example, it would still sell over 1 million units. Like, you know, it's just, that's the way it is. The problem is that has not helped North America, not at all, because you don't have the same fan base here as you do in Japan. So you can't jump from system to system like this and really expect people to follow along. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, what the hell is this idiot talking about? Look at Monster Hunter. It went from the, well, I'm not going to say where it originated from, but, you know, really gained popular in the PSP, then on the 3DS, and now on the PlayStation 4 and on the Xbox One. And is it on PC? I think it's on PC too. And so why don't we follow that? And yes, sure, follow some of that. But the thing is here is that we now go back to what I was saying before about the faith and the fact that it doesn't look like Square Enix has faith in this series in North America. And I'm so concerned that they're going to put all this effort into this and have a repeat of this, whereby the next Dragon Quest game could be Dragon Quest XII, or it could be the rumored like full-on remake using this engine of Dragon Quest III, I'm very concerned, what if that game, whatever, let's just say it's 12, okay, is a mobile-only release? Then what? Right? Because you're now going to associate the series with this system. And I get it. I totally get. That's why they're not bringing this, by the way. They're not bringing this because they want to focus the game on one platform and basically say, like, this is it. So for them, they're like, PlayStation 4, PC, it's going to be like one thing. But I honestly think this is a big mistake. And I'm going to try and relay why that is and how I think, moving forward, what I think they could do to really establish the series. So first things first, an Xbox One release, if you're going to have it on Steam and you're going to have it on the PlayStation 4, unless Sony itself like paid for exclusivity or something like that, they really should have an Xbox One release, all right? You are trying to establish a franchise. You are not trying to sell a game. If you're trying to sell a game, you're doing, this is stupid, okay? If you're really trying to sell a game, it's very dumb to do what they're doing right now. Because who cares if you sell a game? Who cares? You know that they're going to release another Dragon Quest game in Japan this year. You know that. You know there's going to be another one next year. You know there's going to be one after that, and one after that, and one after that. It's what's going to happen in Japan. Now, what are you trying to do here? Are you trying to make money off of one game that you already released that's already over 4 million units sold in Japan? Is that truly what you're doing? If that is what you're doing, I think you're doing it wrong. I think that's foolish. This should be a launching platform for the series moving forward, much like this was. All the effort that was put into this paid off, sort of. The problem was they never capitalized on 9. They never really, released tons of trailers saying, the follow-up to Dragon Quest VIII or anything like that. Never associating with this due to the fact that it was on a completely different platform. It was on a portable system. So they didn't want to have that link, and I'm sure Nintendo didn't want them to have that link. But again, who cares about selling a game? It's about a franchise here. So with this game, I'm very concerned because of that. I very much believe that we could be looking at the exact same scenario with these two games. That's why I thought it was relevant to put them side by side here. And it goes back into a lot of things that I was saying about the marketing, the fact of the faith by not bringing this out. So let's say, okay, fine. You wanna establish a franchise in North America. How could you do that? Well, there's a couple of things. Steven and I actually were talking about a really ballsy move. And while I appreciate everything that they're doing for the North American release of this particular game, trying to establish a franchise, I would have done the voice acting and nothing else. I would have left everything else the same, the minimalistic user interface, all of that. You know why? Because, and this is where you guys are you're gonna think I'm insane. I would have given away this game for free via Xbox Live. Games with Gold Games with Gold. I would have given this away for free with the PlayStation Plus. That's what I would have done, and I would have had some sort of thing with PC as well. Now you may be like, "Are you out of your mind?" I am a little bit crazy. I would have also released this bad boy. Now, this guy, I don't know if I would have done for free like that, only because I don't know if there's any mechanism to do that easily. Maybe like the digital download version or something. I don't know. I don't know exactly with this guy how I would have gone about doing that. But I most certainly would have released this. I most certainly would have released this. But let's go back to that idea of offering this for free. Are you going to lose money? Oh yeah, man. You're going to lose money. But you will be assured that millions, not 500,000, not 1 million, millions will play this game. You're assured. And you do it, have it for like 1 month, something like that. And I can also assure you that Steam, that Sony, and Valve, and Microsoft would all pay you to do that. You know, they would give you, you're going to lose money, okay? There's no question you're going to lose money. But again, this is about establishing a franchise. And at this point in time, you don't know what the future holds for this particular series. You don't know if the next one is going to be released on cell phones, you know, on mobile. And so you got to do something to get it out there so that people don't associate it with one platform. And that's my main with them not releasing this one, is that if people associate it with a platform, you will be guaranteed it will not succeed in the long run as a series. Because who the hell knows where this is going to jump in the future? Is it going to be on PlayStation 5? Is there even going to be a PlayStation 5? Which, yes, there will be. But that's the thing. And if you don't want to give it away for free, okay, because you're like, that guy's nuts, fine. Okay, cool. Release them. Release this. When the Switch run comes out, which they already confirmed, it's going to be released in North America and Europe, but it's going to be a long time from now. What does that mean? It means it's still in development. It means it's going to come out maybe later this year in Japan, and then God knows when in you know, like 2019, 2020 in North America and Europe. And that's good. It's good that it's coming out on the Switch as well, but my fear is that people are going to be like, yeah, well, it's just this one dumbed down. And if that's the case, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's good, but whatever. The key thing with my whole giving it away for free is that and I mean this, every game that would be released after this would have marketing tied in to this game and would get released in North America and Europe. All of them. I don't care if it's on cell phone, mobile. I don't care if it's on 3DS, 2DS, 1DS. I don't care. You release them all. One of the major reasons why the Monster Hunter series has done so well in North America is because Capcom did a very good job of building up the franchise. Now, some of you argue and say, yeah, but Nintendo published a lot of these games. They did, but someone at Capcom had to allow that to happen, right? They had to tell Nintendo, yeah, sure, you know, like, here, we'll make an arrangement, this is our contract, blah, blah, blah. They didn't just, oh yeah, Nintendo, go ahead, whatever, who cares? No, of course not. And they looked at it from the long-term perspective that if we keep releasing these, and yes, some didn't make it out of Japan. Okay, fine. But with this series, like 3/4 of them don't make it out of Japan. Like, it's insane. Are you even aware that Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 was available at launch on the Switch? Most people don't even know that. They associate it with this. Like, no, that's a PlayStation 4 series. No, it isn't. But it wasn't released anywhere else. It was kept in Japan. Why do that? And yeah, okay, fine. That particular game, the quality of it wasn't amazing. But you've got to release the games if you want the series to be successful. It's really that simple. Now, what I would do, like I said, I would offer this for free. I would lose tons of money up front, but I guarantee you are going to have millions of people play this game, at least 2 million people playing this game across all these different platforms. After the fact, sort of like Rocket League did. After that, watch the sales. Just watch the sales. Don't offer it for free on the Switch, and watch the sales. Don't offer this one free and watch the sales, you know, like, and you'll see that you will slowly build up. As long as you keep releasing the games, you will slowly build up the series in North America. And I'm just really concerned that we're going to see a repeat of this. And I don't want this to be a doom and gloom video. It's not that. I'm trying to offer suggestions. The other thing that I would do with this is, like, really temper those expectations, because right now it's very clear they're going in the strategy of, I don't care about the future, we just want to sell this today. Like, we just want to sell this one game. And I just want them to be realistic, because my greatest fear is that they want this to sell 4 million units across North America and Europe, and it doesn't do that, and they say, you know what, we're done with this series in North America. It's clearly not going to happen. This is a Japanese-only series. It doesn't have a future here. Goodbye. And I would be very upset. As you can see, I'm surrounded by Japanese paraphernalia for the series, so personally it wouldn't be the end of the world for me, but it's always nice to experience these games in your native tongue, you know, your mother tongue. That would be just brilliant. So that's what I would do. I would offer this bad boy free. They're obviously not going to do that now. It's too late. But temper those expectations. Don't expect this to sell 50 trillion copies. And if you're expecting and you're looking at Monster Hunter World as your basis, then you will be tremendously disappointed. There is no chance that this has of being the next Monster Hunter World. There's just no way. And the reason why is because you haven't spent the time developing this series in North America. You just haven't done it. You've gone years without making a follow-up to this game that North Americans associate with. Dragon Quest IX, for everything it didn't pave the way for Dragon Quest X. Where's Dragon Quest X in North America? Yeah, that's right, nowhere. And yes, we've had spin-offs and we had a few other things, but too many years go by without this series in the spotlight, and this is essentially what ends up happening. So I'm not going to talk too much more about this. I mean, it's great news that the game's coming out. I love the fact that they're making sort of like an international version, as I call it, where they're spicing it up. You know, they're making it better. They're improving little odds and ends here and there. I'm very disappointed that this one isn't coming, because I'm telling you, the bonus features in this one were just outstanding. They did announce, although it's not being reported very like in very many places, there will be a limited edition of this particular game. I'm going to try, well, not try, I will be ordering that no matter what. And I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited, but I'm also very scared. And I always get like this. It was the same thing when this one was released. It was the same thing when Dragon Quest IX was released. When Dragon Quest IX was released, I was unbelievably nervous because there was so little fanfare. And yeah, it sold very well, but it wasn't everywhere. This needs to be in your face, man. Like, this needs to be all over the damn place. And they have to really understand that get this to sell 1 million copies. Let's start with that. But if you invest so much money that this needs to sell, like, 3, 4, 5 million copies, you're going to be disappointed. And that's my thing right now, is that let's work on making this a success, because you're clearly not going to do what I suggested. But let's also work on making this series a success. And in order to do that, you have got to release the games that come out. And so far, it's been a good stretch. We've had our Dragon Quest builders on both the PlayStation 4 and on the Switch. We've had our Dragon Quest Heroes games at least released on the PS4, but they have got to start, opening the floodgates that anytime something comes out in Japan, do not make us wait over a year. This game will be over 1 year. It's about a year and a month that the North American version will get released. It's too long. That's way too long. Let's bring that down to like 6 months. Ideally it would be day and date, but we're not there yet. So bring that down to around 6 months. I love what they're doing with, making the North American version superior, but why not do that from the very beginning? You know what I mean? Like, the Japanese players are not going to mind if you have a slightly, more refined user interface. No one's going to complain about that. That's silly. But don't invest tremendous amounts of money into this, because you're going to need the sales. And I remember reading that they were tremendously disappointed in this, and I couldn't believe that. I was like, are you guys out of your mind? This is a series that doesn't even exist in North America anymore. How in the hell are you disappointed that this thing sells 1 million units? Are you insane? It's like this. If this sells 1 million units, you go to the highest mountain and scream, yeah, we did it! Because the chances are right now you're going to have to work to get 1 million units of this sold. And I have no doubt you can do it. But what about the next one? What about the remake of 3, if that happens? What about Dragon Quest XII? What happens if Dragon Quest XII is another online MMO? Then what happens? Then all this effort, all this money, all this marketing goes nowhere because you won't release it in North America. So then what? You know, we go another 5 years without another Dragon Quest? No. So the purpose of this video was to share some excitement, but also to share some of my concerns and also to try and give some ideas. I understand that giving this away for free at this particular point in time is not going to happen. So bring those expectations back down to earth and be very careful with the amount of money that you're spending. And honestly, rethink this because the 3DS is still selling like crazy. This could help. And I don't see, even with the Xbox One, I don't understand why you wouldn't release that as well. In Japan, of course, totally understand that. But in North America, man, get it out there. Like, really get it out there. Anyways, guys, that's it for right now. I know this is a very long video, but I really wanted to talk about this. And I know I was jumping all over the place. And let me know if you like this goofy little format I've got with some backdrop stuff and stuff here. I literally just grabbed stuff and put it all over the place to try and get this video out as soon as humanly possible. So are you excited that this version of Dragon Quest XI is coming out? Are you disappointed that this one isn't coming out? What do you think about the Switch, the fact that they confirmed that it's coming? What about all you PC users? Are you like super happy that this is coming out on PC? I think that's crazy that we're getting a Dragon Quest on PC. That's nuts. It's awesome. And just what about the subject as a whole? About establishing this as almost like a reboot of the series and saying, you know what? Now, starting today, we're going to push this series in North America. So leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the series as a whole and how you think they could really take this to the next level. And I'm not talking about 40 million units sold. This is never going to be the next Call of Duty. But what could Square Enix do to really push this series in the future? So, alright guys, I guess that's pretty much it. So I'll catch you all in the next video.